Welcome back, YouTube, and this is a new series that we're calling just Python projects, mastering Python projects. So this is not going to be just kind of like line for line code. It's not going to be as large as, say, like Definitive Guide to Pandas for Python or machine learning or AI, but this is just bite-sized projects that you can do. Little things that you want to perform. It's just another way to build skills, because the only way to learn anything is by doing. So we're going to learn Python programming by doing, and right now we're going to be building we're going to be mastering one of the Python projects, which is going to be a baby name generator. We're going to create software. We're going to write a program that can generate a baby name based on the parameters that we give it. So I have this broken up, this one particularly, into 4 different files, and we're going to go sequentially through them. So let's begin. So first off here on the file, you can see that we're importing a string. I'm sorry, rather, let me rephrase that. We're hitting import string. So what that string means, it's not a string like as you know it, say down here, that's in yellow, where it says pull a letter from here, but we're actually importing the string module, the string library within Python. So if you were to search what that string library is, it tells you it uses constants and classes within methods on strings. And we're going to be using, as you can see really quickly, let me show you on here. We have the string.ASCII lowercase letters and lowercase. So this would be this particular module. When we're calling the method on the module string, it's going to concatenate lowercase and ASCII uppercase constants, which are described below, as this tells you. And then for lowercase, it would only pull lowercase. If we did underscore uppercase, it would only pull uppercase. We have digits, you have hex digits, letters, and I mean, you can go through all this, and it tells you exactly how to do it. And then we can even format these strings utilizing different functions, which we will be using. So, getting back into that. So we already called importing a string. I have here, if you want to know all the different aspects of string, you can print help string. So what I'll actually do is, let me get rid of the hashtag for a moment, and you can see, it's going to think that I want to run that as an if. Darn it, I don't want the whole line. So let me just quickly run that so you can see that what it also pulled was, here we go. So we printed help open print string, and it's going to tell me string. It's a collection of string constants, description, public mobile variables, white space, ASCII lower, ASCII upper, ASCII letters. So these are all the different possibilities that you could utilize when you're applying the string function. As you can see, we're using lowercase and we're using ASCII letters. So it tells me that's a string containing all ASCII letters, and lowercase is all ASCII lowercase. Classes, it gives us, we have 2 classes that we have, the formatter and templates, and it even tells you how you can apply them, what arguments you have to use, how many it's going to require, so forth, and you can go through all of this. This is a great, the help function, printing it out is huge whenever you're utilizing a new library, new module, because there are so many aspects that you'll never even know exist until you actually go in and read them and use them. And it just happens to be an incredible way to learn. But I'm going to hash that out just for now, so we're not using it in our system because we don't need it. So let's start to debug through this. So we have importing of the string. I'm going to F8 through it. So the first function that we're doing is a print function, and I'm putting string.ASCII underscore letters. So again, we're telling the string library, give me all the ASCII letters. So when I F8 through that, I should, on the right-hand side, which I do get, all of the letters that are stored within that library. So we have A through Z lower, A through Z upper. And again, because we only called letters, we didn't specify. I'm going to F8 on the next line, and now we did call only lower case by the ASCII underscore lowercase. And again, that was a method that applies to the library string. So that's why we can string dot it. So, okay, so we did something cool so far, no big deal. If you wanted to do a random selection here, which is what we're going to use, because we're going to use the random library to randomly generate baby names based on the parameters that we want to give it. So we have import random, and then the function print random.choice. So we're telling here from the random library, I want to utilize the choice method, and I put in a string here, pull a letter from here. So this string, pull a letter from here, and I'm telling Python, you can use choice, meaning I'm not telling you directly which one to use, and I want it to be random. So each time I run this code, it should give me a different letter. But it's restricted to the letters that only exist in pull a letter from here. So there's no way in hell that's ever going to pull a Z. But it can pull a U, it can pull an L, it can pull an O, it can pull anything from that string, but only that string. So let's F8 through that. And I have here, it gave me, I have an F and a K. So, because we're printing those functions out. So here I have the H that went through from that string, and then I'm going to F8. Come on. Being a pain in the butt. So, pull letter from here is not a variable, so it's not going to show up my debugger, but we're going to see it down below here in the console. And so in the next line, we have the print random.choice. So same exact thing. You choose what letter you want to give me, and it should be random, so it's going to change each time that I run the program. And it's going to say, well, where the hell am I pulling this letter from? Where am I choosing my letter from? And we have string.ascii underscore lowercase. We can only run that right now because above we did import the string library. So when I look down below here, I have L and F. So sure enough, L is within my string for the random.choice. And then for the random.choice, that is a letter that exists in the lowercase letters. So we won't get uppercase. But just notice real quick down below here, I'm going to hit run again. And then I'm just going to get a different. So I don't know if you noticed at that time. If you notice up here in the debugger, it looks empty, but that's because it printed a white space. And I only bring that up because white space does exist as a character, as an element, an empty one, but it is something that it can choose. It's a random choice that it can choose. So as an example, watch, I'll debug again. And on the right-hand side now, I'm going to go to console. I'm going to F8 through, and we're not going to get an empty space. See, now we got A and I, and down below I have O and Q. But even if I keep running this, even down below in the console, there we go. I got an empty space again. So it pulled a white space. And V for the lowercase letters, now I got E and L and so forth, E and Q and L and Y. It's going to keep going. And if I kept doing it, I'd get empty spaces again. But I'll never get empty spaces in the string.ascii lowercase. Why? Well, when I look at that up here, there are no white spaces that exist within that call, within that method. Just as if there are no white spaces that exist within the ASCII letters, but there are white spaces that exist within my pull letter from here. So first file, main thing to get from it, we have import string and we're importing random, just showing you how those work. So now we're going to go on to file number 2. Let me run it so that we're active. Let me put in that. Let's go with the debugger. Damn it. And console. So what are we doing here? And we can see that we already stopped down below and running the program. So I have import random comma string, so I'm importing both of them because again it's a new file. So I know we used it before, but I'm importing them new. It's great to create our own functions. So we're going to do 5 separate random letters for 5 separate variables. We're going to now tell Python we're defining a function, we're creating a function, and this is what we're going to call it, and this is what you're going to do with that function. So we're defining, we gave the definition name generator. And then I'm saying in the variable letter 1 is just a variable, it's a bucket. I want you to do random.choice string.ascii lowercase. So this is for letter 1, letter 2, letter 3, letter 4, and letter 5. So that's why we have, this is going to be a 5-letter name, if you can guess it, with the random baby generator. And then somebody may say, what about spaces? Well, you can't get spaces because look what we're calling. We're calling the string.ascii underscore lowercase. And if you recall, in this file, there is, just so we're clear, there is no spaces that exist within the lowercase piece on that. Damn it, I didn't want to do that. See what happens when you teach people? Good. All right, sweet. So I'm going to F8 through that again in the beginning. Import string. Nope, where am I going? Here we are. Am I on the right file? Let me get on the right file. There we go, number 2. Good. I'm going to run 2, choose a letter, that's correct, and let's run our debugger. Little debugger on the booger. F8 through, awesome. So we import random string, defining generator, so we did our 5 variables, and then I create another variable, name, and I'm saying name equals letter 1 plus letter 2 plus letter 3 plus letter 4, letter 5, and then we want to return the name. So now we defined our function. Our function knows that we have 5 different variables, and those are letter 1, etc. And then we're saying we have another variable name, and this is how we want you to build name. We also could have done the .join because technically they are strings. And then we're returning name. So now if I print generator, I'm going to F8 through this. Now I just want you to notice again the debugger, it went from def gen all the way down to print generator because Python does not run definitions. It does not run when you're defining functions or operations. It only runs them when they're called. And we haven't called it yet, but we are going to call it in this next line, which is print generators. Now when I hit the print generator, you can see on the right-hand side USTWA. So all it did was I hit print generator here, and it gave me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 random choice lowercase letters, and it did put them all together, concatenate them together, no spaces existed, and then it returned the name. So that is someone's name, USTWA. I don't know anyone with that, but it could exist. It's a baby name generator, and it's in the computer, so it must be real. I'm going to go down to the bottom here. Now we're saying let's now ask the user for some input, because you'll notice when I actually ran the program, it didn't give me this USTWA, and that's because when I ran the program, we didn't yet call print generator. It was, oh no, I'm lying. Yes, we did. See down here, it ran a different, that's a good example. So down below, when I did run the program, it did give me a print generator, but it gave me different variables. And again, why? Because we're doing random.choice. So when I debugged it, I got USTWA because that was one call through it. But when I ran the program, it's a different call through it. I got XLQHS. So not a nice name. So I've created new variables here, letter underscore input 1 all the way down through 5, because again, I want this to be a 5-letter name. And then just good old-fashioned input, and then I'm putting my string. Choose a letter, and then I have this in quotes V, and you notice these are double quotes because I want it to be different than my single quote, because my single quote's not going to show up, but I do want the V to show up in quotes when I print it, as you can see here. So I have to make that different than what my string quotes are going to be. So I have V for vowels, C for consonants, and L for any other letter. So I'm doing that for the user, for the input. So I'm telling this is what the person's going to see when they run the software, when they run the program. Choose a letter, V for vowels, C for consonants, L for any other letter. So it's going to want to fill the bucket for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 before it goes any further. So let's F8 through this on the side here. So as we got it, so I'm going to put, whoops-a-days, let's do, I'm going to put C for consonant. I'll hit enter. And I'm going to F8 through the next one, and now it wants me to pick something else. And let's say we do another consonant, and then we're going to F8 it. It's going to give me a third shot, and let's say we'll do a vowel this time around, and we'll F8 through it, and then we'll say we're going to do a letter. It can pick any random letter it wants, and F8 through that, and hell, let's go for another letter. So now I don't know what consonants, vowels, or letters it's going to pick, but it's going to use the random.choice for that. But at least I'm giving it an order. I want it to be a consonant, vowel, and then letter. It can pick randomly. So now we can F8 and see, let's get a little crazy with some conditionals. We're going to create a conditional vowel and consonant because Python doesn't have these built in. It doesn't have a vowel or a consonant way to call it built into it. So we're going to build that. So all I did here was we have the variable vowels, and I'm saying variables equals the string of A, E, I, O, U. And we have Y, and then of course in memory, vowels variable, now in that bucket it's filled with a string of A, E, I, O, U, and Y. And then I have consonants, and all I did here in consonants was create another string, and I just made the alphabet without the vowels. So now we have two different ways where now Python can distinguish, even using searches and so forth, is that letter in here? If it's in yes, then it's vowel. If that letter's in here, then it's in consonants. Or if I'm pulling from vowels, I can only pull these letters. If I'm pulling from consonants, I can only pull these letters. And then going through that, F8, so we create memory consonants, and then letter equals string.ASCII lowercase. So here just created the variable letter, and again, that string dot is we're pulling it from the imported string module that we have, string.ASCII lowercase, so we're only going to get lowercase letters that we as a generator. And then we have a loop. So if letter underscore input, and what is letter underscore input 1? That is up here what the user's putting in. So looking at this, letter import 1 equals V, and what did we do? I think we did C. So yeah, so first one, we did C. The user, the input, we put C. Program saying if it's a V, which it ain't a vowel, it would have, when letter 1 would have been random.choice vowels, which is up here. It would have pulled one of those random.choice from those letters, from that string. Else if letter.input number 1 equals C, which is the consonant, which we did do, then it's going to pull random.choice from consonants, which we have here. So we're going to get one of these letters for our letter number 1. And then, of course, letter, if it was an L, it'd be a random choice for any letter. And again, letter, when we look up here, what is that referring to? Any lowercase letter that exists. So it could be a consonant, it could be a vowel. We did not specify. As you can see, it is the full lowercase alphabet that exists. Else, letter 1 equals letter 1, allowing the user to input a specific letter, meaning that the user could have put in any particular letter that they wanted to outside of the VCL that they wanted to do. So we just did C, V, and L. We could have put in GRANT if I wanted to put my name, if I wanted to put it down. And so what it would have done when it went through this, when the if loop, it would have said, for the G, let's say the first letter was G, did they put a V? Nope. So go to the next line of code, L. Did they put a C? Nope. Go to the next line of code. Did they put a G or an L? Nope, we did a G. Go to the next line of code, else. So if the letter 1 equals letter input 1, meaning that if letter 1 equals what I put in, which is in this case would have been G, then that's what it would have returned. Now all I did here was we copied these conditionals for all 5 letter inputs. So this loop is just for input number 1, but then I have to do it for input number 2, input number 3, input number 4, and input number 5. You would just copy all of that all the way through. And that's going to get us over to our next file. Come on, let me close you, let me close you. And that's going to take me to number 3. And I'll run it from here so that we have it loaded in our interpreter. And let me put you down and let's run our debug. And go to the console. And I'm going to bring this over just so we have a little more space. Good, so now I'm going to, as you can quickly see on this as I scroll down, you've already seen this. We have an import random string. We already have the same letter inputs, input that the user is going to put in if they're going to choose a vowel, consonant, or a letter. Or they can also specify, even though I don't say it, a particular letter. Our code does allow for it. We specify what are vowels, what are consonants, and then what a letter is so that it's tied to the V, C, and L appropriately. And then also, should the user put something that's not a V, C, or L, what the hell should the program do? Well, it should just keep whatever that letter is that we put in. And for that purpose, yeah, it could be a capital letter because we're not specifying at this point. We only have the lowercase letter for the variable letter. But we have the loop for letter input 1, the loop for number 2, letter 2, the loop for letter 3, 4, and 5. And at the very, very name, we, of course, tell it that name equals letter 1, 2, and 3 within that function, because you can see I put this all in the generator function in terms of these ifs, the if loop. So we have one generator function here. Before, we just had this. We had, let me go back and even show you. Let me bring up number 2 real quick, just to show you in the def gen. So in def gen here, we just have letter 1 equals a random choice. We have exactly what the generator, what each letter is. It's a random choice, and the random choice of what, and then we tell it exactly what it's going to be from, and then we're telling it how to get name, we're returning the name. Now in this file, we're running our full if loop through each in particular letter. So letter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then at the very end, we're saying name is a combination of letter 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, and then we want to return name. So now when I run generator, it's going to run this defined generator that I put, but it's starting off with letter input 1. So it has to run this first, obviously, which is our inputs. So let's give it a go. Let me F8 through this. So it wants, I'm just going to open this up so I'm not going back and forth. And I'll do G. I'm going to really screw it up here. So I'm putting in a letter that doesn't exist. We'll F8 through the next line. You're going to ask me again. I'm going to put C for a consonant. Let's F8 through that again. Let's do a vowel. And let's do, we'll F8 through that again. We're going to do a letter. And I'll F8 through that. And then I'm going to put T. And I'm going to F8 through that. And now where are we? Let me go down. Now we created the same variable vowels, and this is the string that we threw in it, the variable consonants with the string that we put in it, and then letter, same thing, variable with the string that exists, utilizing the string dot ASCII lowercase. Now when I run this, when I hit F8, it just went through all that code. It skipped all the generator code because, again, we don't execute. We only execute when a code is called. So now I call print generator. So now it almost called me an idiot. G-not. So that was the name. So you can notice our code is working properly because I put in a G for letter 1. Let's go up to letter 1. Did I put in a V? No. A C? No. An L? No. I put in something else. So I'm telling it letter 1 is whatever the hell the user put in, which was a capital G. And then for letter 2, I put in C. So for input letter 2, was it a V? No. Was it a C? Yes, true. So then what do I do for letter 2? I do random.choice consonants. And again, that consonants is going to pull from up here the string that we put in. So sure enough, it pulled an N, and N does exist within our string that exists in consonants. So we generated a name. And just as you notice, if I do this, let's do consonant, consonant, vowel, letter, letter. It gives me VBEVD. Sounds like a rapper. And if I run it again, and if I do consonant, consonant, vowel, letter, letter, I'm going to get something else. A different output, because again, we're doing random. We're doing random, so it's always going to be different. And we're doing choice, saying out of this string, you get to choose which one you're going to pull. So that's file number 3. So let's close you up, and let's go to the final file, number 4, which we can actually have it generate not just one output, but a number of different outputs, because what parent wants to be stuck with only one kind of an option for a name? That's horrible. So let me run number 4. So we're loaded in the interpreter. Let me pop this guy up, and let's run the debug. And console and F8. Sweet. So now again, same thing. There were new files, so we have to make sure we're calling our appropriate library. So import random and string. And then I have letter input 1, same thing as before, letter 1 through 5. We're just saying user input, give me this input. We specify in our string what the hell we want from them. We have our buckets, our variables, vowels, consonants, letter, and we're telling it exactly the string, and then here, just from that library, you can pull this as your input. And then definitely defining the generator, it's the same thing, letter 1 all the way through 5. We're telling it what the variable name means so that it can take those inputs and piece them together. And then we're returning that name so that anytime we call the function, the return of that function is going to be the name, the variable name, and that name we define with the letters 1 through 5. So now I have here, the only code we added was for I in range, and that I could have been anything. Let's put, it's going to go through every element that exists within the range. So let's say for baby names. For baby names in range of 20, so it's going to give me 20 different names, print the generator. So again, for out of 20, so 0 to 19, which is a value of 20, it's going to do generator, 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 based on only the 5 inputs that I give it. So let's run through this. So I'm going to F8, choose a letter. I'm just going to bring this over just a little bit. So let's do a vowel, F8. Let's do a vowel, F8. We'll do a consonant, F8. We'll do a letter, and finally we'll do a letter. So F8, we're going through again, bucket, bucket, bucket. Now we're going to skip the defining generator because we didn't call it yet. All the way down to the bottom in a for loop, for baby names in range 20, print generator. So we're going to get one upped, that's someone's name. And that's an index of 0 essentially. So the first one we're going to go again, number 2, 3, 4, and it's going to give me 20 different outputs while I go through this for loop. And when it is done giving me these atrocious names, it'll stop. It'll be a process finished. But as you can notice, if we run not debug it, but if we run it, and I'm just going to do 5 letters, it gives me 20 outputs or 20 potentials. Horrible, horrible choices. Let's see if we got a little bit more. I wonder if we could even get a GR, vowel, and letter. Let's see if I can get anything close to it. So we have a kind of version of granny, grans, granap, grans, greeno, close, granv, grans. So I mean, this could be fun. You could get a little more specific. You could when we do machine learning, we'll actually do a baby name generator where we can give it a million different names and have it come out with more names, or even utilizing popularity, so on and so forth. It gets fun. So that's our program. That's Mastering Python Projects video number 1, which is the baby name generator. The next video we're going to be generating a map where you can put in longitude, latitude, and it will generate a map. And it shows you on that map where you are. And then we can use the map to pull in data. And we can pull in data, and the example we're going to use, I believe, is volcanoes. And we're going to be saying, so we're going to be using the continental US, so in the United States of America. This is a comma separated value file of all the volcanoes with their longitude, latitude, and even elevation and so forth. And then we're going to say, show me on the map all those places. Then we're even going to color code them and say, all right, for the ones that have an elevation of this height to this height, make their marker this color and that color. So we're going to start doing some work that you can utilize in apps and even on the internet for web page development and so forth. But again, just Python projects so we can practice coding, implement what we're learning from the Learn Python tutorials and from the definitive guide for pandas and so forth. Bring it all together because, again, the only way to learn is to do. All right, take it easy, guys. Have a good day.